Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Midnight Skeptic coming at you again. All you seekers of enlightenment and truth. This is the latest broadcast of the Midnight Skeptic. Today is Thursday, May 16th. Yeah, and it's about 2:30 right now. And I'm getting my normal jump on the weekend, which this broadcast on KPCA LP 103.3 FM locally and worldwide at www.kpca.fm and on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube as soon as I get done recording this and download it to YouTube. Okay. As I've said many times before, the purpose of the Midnight Skeptic is to rid this country of all Republicans, GOP MAGA heads, conservative, which are no longer conservative in the traditional sense of the term. They are just hate-filled, religious Christian nationalists who want to impose their warped beliefs on all of the rest of us, using the government to achieve that end. Okay, here is my play-in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, I got that out of the way. Here comes my shout-outs to all the people across this great nation of ours. Just got a notice from the YouTube marketing people that, you know, they send me every now and then an update on who's listening to this stuff that I throw out there. I've said before, I mean a long time ago, I've stopped doing it lately within the last year or so, but there are a couple of people over in Europe, one guy in Russia, one in Colombia, and a couple of Canadians that listen to this for some reason, and I wish them well with their lives. And here are my shout-outs. Okay, Project Censored. I always give them a nice shout-out at the beginning of the show. Mickey Huff, Nolan Higdon, and Andy Lee Roth are the guiding lights behind Project Censored. Go to their website and sign up for their newsletter, project-censored.org. And there's a lot of good information in there. And if you have a mind to, order their annual book, The State of the Free Press, 2023, 24, whatever year it is. Order it and help them out however you can. Okay, locally, Nariman, who is over in Morocco right now, visiting over there, and sending back a few pictures of various places he's seen over in Morocco. And Art Kuznets, who was part of the B'nai Israel I don't know, congregation, group. What do you call a group of Jewish people attending a service? I'm not really sure of that. Okay. And Rabbi Ted Feldman, who is retired now, he was the rabbi at B'nai Israel here in Petaluma. Okay. John Crowley at Aquas Cafe. Go to their website and click on their calendar to see what events are coming up. John Crowley has created a community over there of nonprofits, art collectives, and one in particular that I've gone to now and then, and it happens every couple of months, is Drinks with Shrinks. And I'm not sure when the next one is coming up, but therapists of all stripes come out of the woodwork, gather and schmooze and sip their cocktails and have a big laugh at, each other, I hope. Okay? Tom Gaffey at the Phoenix Theater, who is sort of the kindly uncle of all of the alternative teens that hang out there. And I ran across a couple of them because my private tutoring business, we opened a branch about 10 years ago at the Phoenix Theater, and it lasted about 3 years, but it was not, I would say, successful because honestly, the alternative teens that do hang out at the Phoenix Theater, I would have to say, are not academically minded. However, I did meet a girl there who was a senior at Petaluma High, and we hired her to be one of our tutors, and that worked out very nicely. She's a brilliant girl. I won't mention her name now, but anyway. Locally, Kevin and Lori, I'm doing this off the top of my head. They're not in my notes right now. Okay. Kevin and Lori, Dave and Rosita Takach up in Sacramento. Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol. Tim Conrad, good photographer here locally. Okay, I'm going to have to get my notes. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay, Project Censored did all that. John Crowley Aquas. Ralph Scott, who is making some sort of an attempt to resurrect the Petaluma radio players, of which I was a part about 5-6 years ago. COVID-19 kind of wiped out that, but we're coming back. Okay, Dennis and Megan down in Tiburon, Yvonne and Rick in San Francisco, Stan and Kathy in Pacifica, Aunt Jackie and her 2 daughters, Samantha and Melanie, and she's down in LA. My brother Brandon and his wife Mina in Arizona, in the Santan Valley area near Phoenix, and their daughter Andrea, who is a nurse in the Santan Valley area, and her husband Tim, retired Marine. Booyah! And their 3 little terrorists, and Karina Hilliard, the animal control officer in Patagonia. Now, I keep saying this, and it's been, about 4 years since I've actually communicated with her via email, and I don't know whether she's still the animal control officer or not. But anyway, I keep calling her the Snake Lady. Okay, Arkansas, Shannon Reed, real estate and massage. A good combination. real estate, if it doesn't work out exactly as you wish, you got to have some kind of a fallback position, which she does. Okay, down in Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell, and on YouTube, Amelia Beamer. Go to Locus Magazine, LOCUS, and if you're a fan of science fiction, horror, or fantasy, Locus Magazine, and they're located right across the bay in Oakland, and they review a number of books every month, and Amelia Beamer on YouTube will tell you which books they are reviewing. Okay, Dr. Dave in Raleigh, Durham area, retired as the world's greatest pulmonary physician, and he ended up working for SmithGlassKline, from which company he also retired, and now he's into art. And let's see, the Lost Artists Collective up in Chicago is where he's currently showing some of his works. He has a rather unique take on his vision of reality. And further up the coast, Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. And back here on the West Coast, up in Sonora, Robert Finnegan, Bob Fisher and his wife Sandy, and their two kids, Brad and Martha. Brad's the curator of the Gold Country Historical Museum. And if you're up in the Sonora area, stop by there and check it out. And Darrell Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, Lynn Quayle, and further up the highway in Twain Art, John Gleason and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer. And then all the way down in Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. Okay. So, I need my notes to help me out now and then. Okay, I've promised my listeners that I will start off every broadcast with good news. Well, here it is. Good news from Florida, no less. Lauren Groff, Groff. She's the author of 5 novels and 2 collections of her short stories. She has opened a bookstore in Gainesville, Florida, that specializes in banned books. More than 5,100 books were banned in Florida's schools from July 2021 to December 2023. And the name of the bookstore is The Lynx, Lynx. Check it out if you're anywhere near Gainesville, Florida. I need a sip of, this is grape juice, by the way. Okay, I bet that Lynx Bookstore is the bane of Mothers for Liberty. Or I think that's what that group of harpies is calling themselves. Anyway, they started in Florida, and they're the guiding light behind all these book bans. I had no idea that it was 5,100 different books were banned. I think in Florida it only takes one parent to voice some objection to a book in a school library for it to get removed for consideration. So it will take the school authorities time to review it. So it might as well be banned. Good news. Join I'm encouraging all my listeners and viewers on YouTube out there to join, quote unquote, our revolution. That's a political group founded by Senator Bernie Sanders, who's a he's a political organizer, and he's an independent. He calls himself an independent, although when pressed, he refers to himself as a democratic socialist, which I consider myself to be. Okay? And his goal is to move the Democratic Party a bit more leftward than they are. Okay. More good news, and I mentioned this in last week's show. I asked you to help save bears from cruel bear bile farming, which occurs in a number of Asian countries. China and Vietnam are the biggest purveyors of this form of cruelty to animals. And Animals Asia is a Hong Kong firm or nonprofit founded in 1998 by Jill Robinson. And I'm not sure who she is. Okay, I will look her up, Google her or whatever, for next week, and let you know who Jill Robinson is. Excuse me. And they're under the umbrella of CAF, Charities Aid Foundation of America, and they are a nonprofit in Alexandria, Virginia, and their job is to collect donations and distribute them to a number of organizations that exist under their fundraising umbrella. Okay, but Animals Asia, Google them and see what they're all about. They're in Hong Kong, and I kind of doubt, since they're under the umbrella of the People's Republic of China, I doubt if the government over in China wants to disrupt the bear bile farming, I guess, industry. Bear bile is another one of these traditional Chinese healing stuff that cures nothing, and all it does is cause bear bile farmers to imprison bears in small cages and feed them a minimal amount of food until it comes time to remove the bile from the bears. And I can't believe that it's not painful to the bears themselves. And but traditional Chinese medicine, I've teed off on it on a number of shows, a bit of it last week, but none of the Chinese herbalists' herbs have been, checked out in clinical trials. Some have, and the ones that have been subjected themselves to clinical trials, most of them are ineffective, and some of them are actually harmful. But if there's something wrong with you medically, don't go to a Chinese herbalist or an Ayurvedic medicinal practitioner. Please don't. They are worthless healing modalities. Okay, especially Don't use bear bile. Okay, new topic. A potential solution to the Mideast Gaza problem as articulated by the Midnight Skeptic. A three-state solution. After defeating Fatah in elections in 2006, Hamas has been the de facto ruler in Gaza. Hamas pushed Fatah out of the enclave for its refusal to recognize the voting results. Of course, they're taking a page from the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag's playbook. If we lose an election, it was rigged. Okay, there was a brief civil war, you could say, between Fatah and Hamas during 2007 when this kerfuffle erupted between the two political opponents in Palestine. But, bit of good news. The two groups, Fatah and Hamas, met recently in China and expressed their will to achieve reconciliation. I don't know how that's going to come out. I will keep you informed. But anytime you can get two opponents politically to talk to each other, that's a good thing. The Midnight Skeptic, me, has proposed a three-state solution. Israel, West Bank, Palestine, which would be governed by the PLO, and Fatah, the faction within the PLO, and Gaza, and membership in the UN for West Bank, Palestine. Now, the United States vetoed an application by Palestine to become members of the UN. I strongly disagree with that. They should be a member, and let them haggle about who's the official government of Palestine, meaning West Bank, if my three-state solution takes effect. But anyway, I was disappointed that the United States vetoed the application by Palestine to become members of the UN. They've been petitioning the UN for a long time now to become members. Okay. Whew. Okay, facts. F-A-C-T-S. What are those? Facts my fans need to know about the Middle East / Gaza conflict. Another sip. Okay, how far back do we need to go to figure out who's right, who's wrong, who's to blame about the current situation in the Middle East, specifically Gaza? Okay, in the United States, the Johnson-Reed Act passed on May 26th, 1924, set quotas on immigration from Eastern and Southern Europe and banned immigration from Asia. And this was after this bill in the United States Congress passed, the Chinese Exclusion Act was 1882. And our country does not have a very good record when it comes to discrimination against racial discrimination. Mm. Okay, let alone eliminating the indigenous people here or the rights of blacks in this country. We do not have a good record when it comes to all that. Would Republican-run school districts inform their students about this? Oh, hell no. That would not be the way Republicans roll. Okay, I'm off my notes. I'm just riffing now. The plight of the Jews in Russia worsened with the accession of Tsar Alexander III to the Russian throne in 1881. And he hated Jews. He was anti-Semitic to the core. And I don't know why, other than he was just a jerk. And I'm not going to look up, his mental reasons for why he was so anti-Semitic, but he was, and which included turning a blind eye to all the Jewish pogroms over in Russia and Poland. Poland was not an independent country at that time. Okay, I'm off my notes again. On March 1st, 1881, Alexander II was assassinated. 6 weeks later, anti-Jewish pogroms began. The Jews were getting blamed for everything in Russia and Poland and other places in Europe as well. They became a regular feature of Jewish life in Russia. Roughly 5 million Jews lived under the Tsar's rule. About 2,367,000 Jews fled Russia from 1881 to the outbreak of World War I. Most came to the U.S. Only 3% went to Palestine, or the Palestinian area within the Ottoman Empire, which roughly corresponds to what is Israel and Syria and southern Lebanon today. By the end of World War I, the Jewish population in the Palestinian area was roughly about 60,000 out of a total population of more than 600,000. In the U.S., mainly the heartland, the Midwest, Ohio, Indiana, Kansas, Nebraska, blah, 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 mainly the heartland, anti-Catholic and anti-Jewish sentiment was exploding. Thank you, Christian pastors, for that. Massachusetts GOP Senator Henry Cabot Lodge had been introducing bills to ban the immigration of Jews and Catholics for many years. He was anti-Semitic and anti-papist, as are most Republicans. The Johnson-Reed Act, which I had mentioned before, slammed the door on Asians and Eastern Europeans. In 1896, Theodore Herzl's, capital Herzls, apostrophe S, Theodore Herzl's Zionist Manifesto was published. This was right after the 1897 First Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland. The term Zionism was first used by Nathan Birnbaum, who was an Austrian journalist, and it was in 1890. When he coined this term, he was a 19-year-old student journalist at the University of Vienna. And Leon Pinsker, a Russian-Polish physician, published influential pamphlets saying that the only restorative for Jewish dignity and spiritual health lay in a Jewish homeland. Well, we know where that is. Leo Motzkin, Motzkin, a Ukrainian Zionist leader, led the Jewish delegation to the 1919 Paris Peace Conference at the end of World War I to, for the great powers, the victorious powers, the U.S., Great Britain, France, Serbia, gathered to divvy up the spoils of war. Okay, 1919 Paris Peace Conference. At the formation of the League of Nations on January 10th, 1920, officially, that was the beginning of the League of Nations, Britain was given a mandate to prepare the people in Palestine for self-rule. Okay, the population in Palestine, in the British mandate, 78% of them were Muslims, 11% were Jewish, 9% were Christians, and 2% others, including the Druze population. And they do not consider themselves Muslims, but they are an Abrahamic faith, okay? They're roughly about 2% in that area now, in Lebanon and northern Israel. In 1947, the British government handed the mandate over to the United Nations. Now, this was after Nazi Germany was defeated. And on May 15th, 1948, Israel declared itself an independent nation. Okay. The Palestine Liberation Organization was formed in 1964. The PLO covenant termed Israel to be an illegal state. In 1974, all Arab states recognized the PLO as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. But in 1993, under Yasser Arafat, the PLO recognized the nation of Israel. In 2006, a Palestinian legislative election was held. Hamas, a militant political party, won not a majority, but a plurality, about 45% of the vote, which was more than other political organizations got. Won a plurality in the election. Yahya, capital Y-A-H-Y-A, Sinwar, capital Sinwar, is currently the Hamas leader in Gaza. His government is a paranoid security state, as repressive as any dictatorship. The Hamas covenant says its goal is to raise the banner of Allah over every inch of Palestine. In other words, from the river to the sea. Now, the Midnight Skeptic, as I've said, my solution is a three-state solution. The protesters at the college campuses all over the United States, when they say from the river to the sea, they mean the entire area should be the nation of Palestine with, I guess, Jewish people allowed to be in there. I disagree with that. I would never mouth the slogan from the river to the sea, no matter how good it sounds to some juvenile protesters who just don't know their history. Okay? Getting back to 1947, when the British government handed over their mandate to the United Nations, and May 15th, 1948, Israel declared itself an independent nation. Now, that immediately started the 1948 war between the Arab League nations and the nation of Israel. Well, Israel eventually won, and the borders of Israel are more or less what they are today, excluding the West Bank and Gaza. Okay, one of the worst massacres was the Deir Yassin attack. Now, this was done by, I'm not sure which Jewish militant group did this, the Haganah or the Irgun or the Stern Gang. I'm not sure, but there's a village, capital D-E-I-R, capital Y-A-S-S-I-N, attack. And it was in reprisal for a Palestinian Arab attack, which in turn was a response to Jewish killing them. It was just, you can't separate out who started all this in the war between the Jews and the Arab League. But it was, 200 to 300 Arabs, men, women, and children, were killed in the Deir Yassin attack. And it's just, it was a horrible event. And there essentially are the highlights or lowlights of how the Gaza fighting came to be. Yahya Sinwar is, from all I've read and heard about him, he's a sociopath who is leading a country down the shithole. Okay, I think I'll be not allowed to say that again. Anyway, all right, let me take a breath and sip. New topics. Good news. Miss Teen USA has given up her title because her personal values no longer fully aligned with the direction of the Miss Teen pageant. And she says, I look forward to talking about charity, uplifting minority voices like my Mexican Indian community and the LGBTQ community. Her name, Uma Sofia Srivastava, spoke at the GLAAD, G-L-A-A-D, Media Awards ceremony in New York on May 11th. Also, the 2023 Miss USA, Noelia Voigt, announced that she was stepping down and giving up her title. She cited mental health issues. She is an advocate for anti-bullying. You might as well be anti-Republican if you're going to be anti-bullying. And dating violence awareness and immigration rights. Okay, if you're going to speak out against all those things, you might as well be speaking out against Republican values. Yeah. She is Venezuelan American. Okay, new topic. Good news. A New York court last Friday struck down a Long Island County ban on transgender women from playing on women's sports teams that used county-owned facilities. The county executive, Bruce Blakeman, capital B-L-A-K-E-M-A-N, instituted the ban. There's a MAGA head, or I've never heard of one. He's obviously a hateful MAGA head. He told the New York Times that he would appeal the decision and would, quote, take all measures to protect the integrity of women's sports and protect women and girls' right to compete in female leagues without biological males bullying their way onto those teams. These are his words. Caitlyn Jenner, a scumbag if I've ever seen one, endorsed the ban. As of now, 24 states, all GOP controlled, have enacted laws to ban trans athletes from participating in sports aligned with their gender identification. That is a trope used by Republican GOP conservative MAGA heads that men pretend to be women so they can play on women's teams. That is such BS, and it belies the ignorance, the absolute ignorance of Republicans. And my notes say riff, which I write to myself when I can start taking off on my own and ranting. They use the word protect a lot. Well, who can be against protecting women and girls? On last week's show, I mentioned that I had heard myself, I was watching TV, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago on an interview show, a political interview show, and Mike Huckabee, what a scumbag that guy is, say that the subject of transgender kids came up, and he said, well, what if I started feeling kind of female one day and I put on a wig and a dress and I go into a girl's bathroom because I might like to see girls or women do their thing in a bathroom. What an ignorant ass. And he was a pastor at one point of some Baptist church. But that's the argument. And I've heard that on a number of occasions where right-wingers complain about men pretending to be girls. They have no idea what they're talking about, and cruelty is just the whole point of being a Republican. All right, new topic. I'm on my last page of notes. This is working out about on time now. 58 minutes is what I have for the purposes of KPCA LP 103.3 FM. Okay, bad news. The Clackamas County, this is in Oregon, district attorney has filed criminal charges against Blair and Taylor Edwards. Why? Members of the Followers of Christ Church, an Oregon City-based sect. Their newborn child died for lack of medical care. Jaundice was one of the symptoms. Child deaths have plagued the church for decades. The sect believes in faith healing. Jesus will heal. Okay, new topic. Bad GOP news. The GOP faithful flock came to New York City to mouth off about how our judges and court system are being mean to the orange sociopathic bloat bag. It's a disgusting display of Republican toadyism. A once respected political party who had reasonable ideas, very few of which I agreed with, but at least they thought about things, okay? They once were that kind of a party. Now they just genuflect at the ground in front of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. You know why they all came? Because he said aloud outside the courtroom, "Where is everybody? Where are my supporters?" Meaning the other Republicans. Well, they flocked and started immediately saying how bad the judge is, how prejudiced the jury is. It's sickening, disgusting. Okay. New topic. Maybe good news. Cultural religiosity. Religion has been reduced to little more than a tribal marker. Much the same way as a fan of a sports team. The New York Yankees, the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors, which I am a fan of. It's a way to create an us versus them dynamic. So if you say, well, I'm a Christian, then you put yourself on their team rather than a reasoning, thoughtful, scientific team. Okay, cultural religiosity. Okay, new topic. Kinda bad news. About 64% of Canadians think human beings evolved from less advanced life forms over millions of years, while just over 21% say God created human beings in their present form within the last 10,000 years. The Christian nationalism has infected our neighbors to the north, Canadians. Okay. Good news. The German Medical Assembly has voted to no longer use homeopathy and to encourage the legislators to not allow homeopathy in insurance programs. Edzard Ernst, capital E-R-N-S-T, who is a retired British-German physician and researcher of complementary medicine, relayed this information to CFI, the Center for Inquiry. Okay. And he's a dedicated skeptic of alternative and complementary medicine. Okay, good news. I promised all my listeners and watchers that I would end the show with good news. Well, here's 2 or 3 in a row, and here's another one. Good news. The Climate Change Education Act, Senate Bill 4117 and House Republican Bill 7946, both introduced on April 11th of this year, would authorize the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, scientists. Republicans are coming for you, scientists. Okay, I'm off my notes. Introduced on April 11th, would authorize the NOAA to start a grant program to develop educational material and teacher prep on the topic of climate change. And this is kind of bad news. Only 30% of middle school teachers, I guess they mean science teachers, or all teachers, I'm not sure which in this article I read. 30% of middle school and 45% of high school teachers understood climate change and the relationship between atmospheric warming and increasing levels of CO2 in the atmosphere. And guess who's going to vote against this? Republicans. Okay, I'm willing to bet I will follow up on this and see who it is that votes against this. Okay, good historical news. All right, and to end the program with, Eli Parker, a Seneca Nation member born in 1828 into the tribe, but educated in white schools, became a scribe for meetings with the U.S. government officials and the tribe. He was chosen by the tribe at age 14 to be a translator and written recorder of these meetings. Later, he became friends with Ulysses S. Grant in 1860. And during the Civil War, he was commissioned a lieutenant colonel. When the South surrendered, Eli wrote the final draft of the terms of surrender that I believe General Robert E. Lee signed at Appomattox Courthouse. After the Civil War, Eli became the first Native American to be Commissioner of Indian Affairs. Whew, I should use my sound effects a bit more than I do. I keep saying that and I always forget to. But anyway, here's play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, I will be coming at you again next week. I'm not sure which day I'm going to record this next show. This one is being done on the 16th. And again, it'll be coming out locally on KPCA 103.3 FM Sunday at 9 o'clock and worldwide Sunday at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Which I guess back east is midnight for Dr. Dave and Geraldine Goldfinger and Nelson Annalis and Amelia Beamer. Okay, so until next week, this is the Midnight Skeptic, and I will be coming back with more truthiness, and well, here we go. I will see you next week. I got to click on stop recording here. And this will be on YouTube as soon as I get off here and can download it. Bye-bye.